Kirkharle.
My Lords, I beg to ask the question standing in my name on the order paper.
My Lords, the Department is investing up to £26 million in a breakfast club programme using funds from the soft drinks industry levy. This money will kick-start or improve breakfast clubs in over 1,700 schools. The focus of these clubs has been to target the most disadvantaged areas of the country, including the Department for Education's opportunity areas. Decisions about funding beyond March 2020 will be taken as part of the spending review.
I thank my Lord the Minister for his response and for the current commitment to the school breakfast programme. However, contracts are due to end, and supply chains are in existence which are quite complex, and as of yet, decisions have not been taken as to whether this programme will be funded or not. So there is a risk, my Lord, if the government don't commit to the continued funding of this programme, that over 280,000 children will arrive at school one morning and find there is no breakfast. Will my Lord, the Minister, please reassure the House that the government will commit to continued funding of this programme?
My Lords, as I said, any decision to renew the contract for this National Schools Breakfast Programme will be part of this year's spending round, which headline details were announced just yesterday by the Chancellor. My officials are working closely with the contractor on ensuring breakfast clubs are sustainable. We will announce plans in relation to this shortly, but I also want to ensure that we do not entrench existing suppliers. We must remain alert to other ideas and indeed other methods of delivery.
So we will be aware that where breakfast clubs operate, it ensures that children's attendance and punctuality improve, healthy food is eaten, attainment and achievement are often improved, and socialisation takes place. And he'll also be aware that 62% of teachers say that an increasing number of children are coming to school undernourished, wanting food. So when this decision on spending takes place, will he put those important issues into consideration so this programme not only can continue but can also be extended?
I completely agree with the noble Lord on the importance of a healthy breakfast for children. There is masses of evidence to support the benefits. It improves concentration and provides nutrition, which can sometimes not always be happening in children's homes. So I entirely agree with that. We are reviewing the future of the programme. It was only yesterday that we had our spending settlement letter or announcement from the Chancellor. But one of the things we want to do is to try and ensure that we can extend this programme in an effective way. We've targeted initially in the opportunity areas, which, as noble lords will know, are some of the areas of greatest deprivation. But we want to create a system that is sustainable into the long term.
I think nobody has any doubt about the importance of breakfast, and yet at the moment, apart from the scheme that my noble friend Lord Curry mentioned, almost all these breakfasts are being provided by charities such as Magic Breakfast. And yet even Magic Breakfast reckon that 1.8 million children go to school hungry every morning. Surely this is a matter that should not be haphazardly funded by the sugar tax or by desperate mothers and Magic Breakfast charities. This should be a responsibility of the Department of Education and of all of us, because we know how fundamentally important it is.
The noble Baroness makes important points, and I think there is both a macro and a micro issue here. For example, today I looked at the LIF futures price for wheat. It's £130 a tonne. When I last worked on my father's farm in 1978, it was about £100 a tonne. Food has never been cheaper. We've had a revolution in the provision of food in this country and indeed in the Western world. So we need to understand why these families are struggling to produce meals at home. And a lot of that is around education. I appeared before a select committee yesterday on holiday hunger, and we need to learn a lot more about this. We have introduced the infant free school meals in the last couple of years. That is feeding 1.5 million children, and it has an 85% take-up.
That is coming for these schemes is coming from the soft drinks industry. And would he not confirm that it is difficult sometimes to avoid a conflict of interest when those that are sometimes providing sustenance which is not always as healthy as it should be are involved in such schemes as these?
The noble lord is quite right, and indeed I should perhaps declare my own interest as someone who grows 3,500 tonnes of sugar beet every year, and of course a lot of that sugar doesn't go to the right places. But the levy is designed as a pump primer into the system, and what we want to see is this money encouraging schools to start breakfast clubs, which are then sustainable into the long term. As noble lords will be aware, we've just announced the most tremendous funding settlement for schools over the next 3 years, and I'm confident that there are resources now coming into schools that will enable them to sustain this.
It should be a source of shame to this government that after 9 years in power, some children in England turn up at school in the morning too hungry to learn. And I'm astonished to hear the noble Lord the Minister just say just now, I can't understand why that's the situation. There's a simple one-word answer to that, and it's austerity. That is said to be over now, but it's got a long way to run in terms of its effects. Now, the National School Breakfast Programme is a necessity, but as other noble lords have said, it doesn't just need to be continued in terms of its funding, it needs to be increased, a point made by the CEO of the charity that delivers the programme in his recent report. The problem is the sugar tax, which funds it. The Prime Minister has said he wants to reduce the sugar tax. So where does that leave the National School Breakfast Programme?
Let's just deal with the core issues. We know without any dispute that children growing up in a home where adults are working are around 5 times less likely to be in poverty than a child in a household where nobody works. Since 2010, 3.7 million more people are in work. There are 1 million fewer workless households.
My Lords, according to the Food Foundation, there are 3.7 million children in this country living in households where a healthy diet is unaffordable. Does the noble Lord the Minister not agree with me? That's a disgraceful situation for one of the wealthiest countries in the world.
Why are these families struggling? I disagree with the noble lord opposite me that it is down to austerity. I think it's down to learning more about parenting. If we look at the transcript of one of the hearings that the Holiday Hunger Committee was looking at, one of the responses said from one of the mothers, when my children at home, they go to the fridge and help themselves to food whenever they want it, whereas at school there are regular fixed meal times. It is simple things like this that we need to help parents with, to understand that they need to produce structure, they need to know how to cook healthy and affordable meals.